When I was serving in Afghanistan as a medic, I didn't like dwelling on my intimate knowledge of what would occur when one of the bombs in the road inevitably went off. So I concocted a science fiction universe in my head, and I wrote about it and self-published it when I got home. And I mentioned it offhandedly in a video yesterday, and now people won't stop asking me about it. Forged by Battle and the sequel that does not have a physical copy, but you can get on Amazon, called Rebirth by Fire, are books that I deeply love and have a personal connection to that deployment for me. And I also think are amateurish and poorly written. Because I wrote them in not the greatest of circumstances, and I was also very young as a writer, and instead of like going through the process of getting an editor, I was like, no, I'm gonna maintain the sanctity of my work, and I self-published them, sort of as is, so they don't really have beginnings or ends. It starts in the middle of a battle, and it's just like 350 pages of action, and then the next book picks up right where the last one left off with another 350 pages of action. My characters never stop at any moment to have a singular conversation without something exploding, which makes sense when you think about that I wrote it in Afghanistan and then finished the editing process of the second book while serving on an ambulance. And like, the concept I think is cool. It's like, what if Star Wars and Lord of the Rings and every other like science fiction and fantasy trope were thrown into a big old blender and a story was written about that. But like, now that I read back and I look at it, I go, boy, this is ripe for satire. This should be more satire instead of being so goddamn serious. Or it can be self-serious, but like, I, the writer, should be acknowledging more how silly and ridiculous I'm being with my end battle with like a giant shadow monster bear fighting a flame elemental phoenix girl with amnesia, and also the guy who doesn't like tech who's in a mech anime fighter pilot thing now. That's the climax of the first book, and it just gets dumber from there. There's a cyborg and a wizard and a lady who doesn't have a name because her entire people psychonatically like removed it from existence. There's a platoon of people, all based on people I served with, who are like clones that just die forever for the I don't know if it's the U.S. government anymore. I forget what I called it, but it's like the spiritual successor to what if America took over everything and was the driving force, but for space warfare? Because I serve in the American military, and in my fantasy, we're in space now. I'm not trying to sell this to you. I just think it was a fun thing that I did in my 20s. I lately have been looking back and going, I desperately want to force myself to sit through the experience of rereading the two books that exist and the ones that don't on my laptop. There are so many. There's Warverse 1942, where like a time travel thing happens, so I could just explicitly put my characters into World War II, because of course. There's like a spin-off series about a sad paralyzed doctor who gets like alien powers or something. There's another spin-off series, which was just my attempts to make a young adult novel series, because that was all the rage at the time. I have ADHD. I've started and not finished quite a few series. Someday, though, I want to reboot it. I think it'd be funny to reboot a series that barely anybody read. That would be fun for me. I want to take all these characters that I genuinely enjoy, and I want to write a satire. I want to satirize my own work. That might be my next project when I'm done with my satire memoir thing, or maybe I'll start in the middle of it. That's smart. That's the best way to do projects, piecemeal, and too many at a time. Anyway, that's the Warverse duology, I guess, because that's all that ever got published. One day it'll be a funny footnote in a much better series that people actually read and love. The Terry Pratchett who went to war, they'll call me. What if J.R.R. Tolkien got more brain damage in that war he fought in before he wrote his magnum opus? What if Brandon Sanderson wasn't recruited to the Mormon church, but the U.S. government got blown up instead of famous?